Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Homeschool Minnesota. My name is Dayle Annand. I'm so excited to have you guys with us today. And for those of you who have video, and you should just go on YouTube and check out the video because it's always so cool. Anyway, you can see that today we have Susan Prigge with us. And you know what that means? It's MÂCHÉ Book Club Day. So we're super excited to have MÂCHÉ Book Club back. It's been a minute since we've done it. And life has gotten away from us. Usually we try to do a few a year, and the last one we did was in May. So we're doing it in November. We're super excited to have Susan with us. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Dale. Thank you for having me.
I'm
It
so
has been
excited
a
to have you. It's been a minute. Yeah, it's been a while. Now, if you guys haven't checked out MÂCHÉ Book Club, let me tell you a little bit about how it works. Okay, so MÂCHÉ Book Club is kind of an answer to a lot of questions we get, like, what are some good books that I can give my kids? Or, gosh, I go to the library and I'm not sure, what should my kids read? What should they not read? Or, I want to find good books for my kids for Christmas or for birthdays or Easter or whatever. This is what MÂCHÉ Book Club is. Susan has just a great knowledge of books and authors, and she likes to tap into older books, which are so good, and things that maybe you don't even know about that are just great because we want to give our kids good literature. You know what I mean? We don't want to just give them just like Charlotte Mason would say, twaddle. I love
while.
Charlotte Mason. Yeah, we don't give twaddle. We want to give the good stuff. And so what we do is we talk about good books on here, and usually Susan will bring up like an author and one or two of their books, and then basically you can pretty much guess that that author, anything that you find by them is probably going to be super okay for your family. And we have from preschool all the way through. Sometimes we go all the way up to adult. Sometimes we stop at high school. It just depends. But if you go into the link of the podcast, you will get linked to our book list that we have on Amazon. Now, this is just a courtesy for you. MÂCHÉ makes no money off of your Amazon purchases if you order from the book. It's just there for you to reference and go, gosh, what books have they referenced? So if you're looking for a good book, last year we did a whole Christmas season and holiday season book list. You can go on there, and all the books that we've ever talked about on MÂCHÉ Book Club is on that list. And we will add these books that we talk about today onto that list as well. So you can go on there. You don't have to worry about, you can order off of there or just use it as a reference. It's up to you. We just wanted to put it somewhere where it would be easy for you guys to find. So there it is. So welcome, Susan. We just appreciate you coming.
Well, thank you for having me, Dale. It's always a pleasure.
I'm excited. Let's get right into it because we got a lot to cover. I'm pretty sure these you usually have so many good stories
Other
for us.
ones.
It's
All
all
right.
good.
Well, we'll start with our preschoolers,
Okay.
on picture books.
Yeah.
The first book that I was going to mention is a book called Least of All by Carol Purdy. And it's about a little girl named Raven Hannah, and she's the youngest of 6 children, and she's the only girl. And when she struggles because her older brothers have a lot of jobs to do, and she always feels left out because she's not old enough. And they'll say, "You're not old enough, Raven." So when she's almost 7, her parents are like, "You're old enough now that you can do the butter churning," because this takes place like turn of the century on a Vermont farm. And so she starts churning the butter when it needs to be churned. And it's kind of a very solitary, lonely job. So she has her job, but she still doesn't have anybody around her, and she's feeling rather bored. So she decides to alleviate her boredom by churning with the Bible on her lap while she's
Oh,
churning.
wow.
And she tries to decipher the words that she's familiar with because the stories have been told to her so many times and are very familiar from her Sunday school. And so as the seasons pass and winter approaches, she surprises her family with a new skill that she's the only one in the family that possesses. And it is just a darling story. I just love it.
Aw,
So that's
I
my
love
first
that.
one. The next book I have on my list is Yanni Wondernose, and it's by Margaret D'Angeli. It's a Caldecott honor book. She's a wonderful author illustrator, Margaret D'Angeli. This is just one of her many books, and it's the story of a little Dutch boy who's very, very curious, and it usually gets him into trouble. And he's 7 years old, and they call him a Wondernose because of his curiosity and getting himself into situations because of his curiosity. And so his parents are doing an overnight away one evening and he lives on a farm also. I think it takes place probably in Pennsylvania Dutch area. And so he's supposed to be the man of the house and to keep everything on the farm, everything safe, out of trouble. But that night, a bad storm comes along and brings a lot of trouble that not even a grown man could probably handle easily. And it's just that story and how he perseveres and deals with that situation. So it's a sweet story. It's
Uh,
illustrated. It's been republished because the book, the copy I have is quite old, and it I think I bought it used many, many years ago and it's almost
wow.
falling apart. Now they've republished it, and you can find, you probably can find it on Amazon, but purplehousepress.com is a publishing house now that is republishing a lot of older, high quality books. And if you're ever curious, just go on their site and just see what they have available because they have a lot of wonderful books that have been out of print for many years and they're now republishing them.
That
So
sounds
that's
great.
side there. The next book is called The Boy Who Held Back the Sea, and it's kind of a classic story about over in Holland with the dikes over there in Holland, and it's been retold by Lenny Hort and illustrated by Thomas Locker. And I don't know if anybody's familiar, but Thomas Locker is a renowned illustrator or he's a painter. He does a marvelous job. His books are just lovely. But this is just a story about a young boy who is often telling tall tales, and he finds himself alone one day, and there's water trickling out of the dike, and he realizes this is a serious situation because they're all basically underwater there. The dikes are what are holding the sea back, and he has to warn the people of his village that the dike has a leak. And so that's the story. It's so beautifully illustrated because Thomas Locker, he does oil painting illustrations
Oh,
and
but they're beautiful.
just gorgeous. They're real works of art. So I highly recommend that book. It's
It's
a
so
nice picture
good.
book. It's I also have another book here called Lily Leads the Way by Margie Prius. And one of my nieces recommended this to me recently. And it's what's interesting about it is it's a story of a little tugboat named Lily, or a sailboat, I guess, who shares the harbor. And the harbor happens to be in Duluth, right by the
Oh,
Duluth Lift Bridge. So it's basically a
nice.
story about this little boat who is so small, and all these large cargo ships, get to go under the lift bridge whenever they need to. They can blow their horn, and the lift bridge will go up, and they can pass through because they're too tall. And Lily, because she's a sailboat, she has a high sail. She's very tiny, but she can't go under either unless they lift the bridge for her. But she has no horn. She's just a little tug, a
Oh,
little and it happens that they're having some sailing ships that are coming toward the harbor for a big festival, I think. And she needs to scoot under to help escort these tall ships coming toward the bridge because she realizes these tall ships don't have horns either. And so, how will the bridge know to open? And can Lily save the day? So that's why it's Lily Leads the Way. It's
how
a cute little
fun.
picture book for preschoolers. It's delightful and especially delightful for people from that live in Minnesota and know the Duluth area.
Yeah,
S
for sure. That's so great. See, that's a
Yeah.
good field trip. You could do the book, go up and see
Mhm.
the lift bridge, do Canal Park. There's so many good
Yeah.
the boat museum there that's free right
Yep.
there at the lift bridge that you can go and
You're
yeah.
right there. So
Yep, it's right
it
there.
was a cute little book, and I loved it when my niece mentioned it. I'm like, "Lily, this is my granddaughter's name, Lily."
Oh,
So I
fun.
had to get a copy for her
Mhm.
birthday.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, the next book is called Sleep Tight Farm: A Farm Prepares for Winter by Eugenie Doyle. And it's another very nice picture book where as the December days shorten, and it kind of gives an illustrated and story of a family busy putting their farm to bed for the
Oh,
winter and all the different tasks that are involved in being on a farm and preparing it post harvest for what needs to be done so it will be ready in the spring. And it's just a sweet story of how this family shares the seasons together on a farm.
I love
So
that. I love that. Cozy story.
it's a cozy story. It's
Yeah.
really
Yeah, that's so
and
good.
then I have a couple of Thanksgiving books that I thought I recommend. I just threw it in there that are designed for younger children,
Okay.
I'd say preschool, early elementary. There's The Story
Mhm.
of the Pilgrims by Catherine Ross, and that's just from the dangerous voyage of going across the Atlantic, the Pilgrims, and then to their first harsh winter and their Thanksgiving feast. It's all just captured in this little retelling, this little picture book. I think it's paperback. I think it's available in paperback, but it
Mhm.
has colorful and appealing illustrations, and it just kind of brings history to life. So that's something as we get close to Thanksgiving, it's kind of fun to read some stories about the first Thanksgiving. And the other one that we always enjoyed reading is still available. It's called Squanto, Friend of the Pilgrims by
Yes.
Clyde Robert Bulla. Yes.
Yes,
And
so good.
really is. It's a great biography of Squanto,
Mhm.
the Native American who selflessly helped the Pilgrims, and how God divinely orchestrated events in history to
Mhm.
accomplish His will. It's just to me a miraculous story. When you
It
read that
is.
story, it's a lot like Joseph of the Old Testament.
Mhm.
And because Squanto, he underwent a lot of heartbreak,
Yeah.
and your heart just breaks really
Mhm.
with what he endures prior to ever meeting the Pilgrims when they land
Oh,
in Plymouth. So
yeah.
it's a delightful book. It has also recently been republished by that Purple House Press, and it
Okay.
is available on Amazon in paperback for $11. So it's an
Nice.
expensive book, and I know you can get that at libraries too.
Yeah.
It's a very popular book.
Yeah,
So
it's a good book. It's one of those
it
stories that you hear about Squanto when you're in school, but you don't understand his whole story. And
No,
and when you hear his whole story, you start to realize just the sovereignty of God in so many ways. Yeah, it's just so
exactly.
good. It's so
What's
good.
so wonderful about it, and
Mhm.
honestly, it's why we homeschooled our children.
Yeah.
I never story, so it was
No.
just one of eye-opening books, a simple children's book, and it was like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
well, moving on, I've got a little list of elementary literature that I've
Okay.
got written here. The Family Under the Bridge is by Natalie Savage Carlton.
Yes.
And that also is kind of a great book to read
It's great.
before Christmas time, I think. It's just a
Yes.
really sweet book. It's set in Paris during the early 1900s, and it's the story of a family and called the Cowset family and a hobo named Armand. And it explores their growing friendship despite early problems they have in the beginning, pride and prejudice, you could almost say, and
Yep.
that turn to humility. And it's
Yeah,
just a classic children's book. It is a great read aloud.
it
So
is.
I highly recommend that book, Family Under the Bridge. The next book is called Understood Betsy by Dorothy Canfield. That's a classic that's been around for a long time. It was written in 1916, actually, but it's still in print. It's a story of an overprotected little girl whose life and self awareness take on new dimensions when she goes to Vermont um, to live on a farm with some relatives. And it's just a sweet story that where this little girl Betsy is removed from her loving but very stifling home that
Mm,
she's always known and put in a world where she's with other kids that I think because she's like an only child, she's all of a sudden put in with a bunch of other siblings, so to speak, or
yeah.
cousins. And she learns to overcome her self pity and some of her fears. And she becomes a much more likable young girl
Mhm.
just from that experience. So I think it's a great story. I would highly recommend that one as well.
It's
Uh,
interesting because we were just looking for books. We always do on Christmas Eve for our grandkids, we do pajamas and a book, and that's what they
Oh,
get. They get to open on Christmas Eve, and so I was looking for our granddaughter who just turned 6, like,
oh,
just an easy book that she could read because she's a good reader, but I wanted her to just
oh.
have a book that she didn't have to, like, ask for a lot of help and she could just read. That sounds like a story she would really love.
You might wanna look
Yeah.
for that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
available in paperback. You can get it at the library. It's been, like
Yeah.
I said, it's been a long time. So,
Yeah.
okay, the next one is a book called The 21 Balloons by William Penne Dubois. And this is the story of a retired teacher's attempt to sail by balloon across the Pacific in 1883. Unexpectedly, though, he suffers a crash landing and imprisonment of sorts on the island of Krakatoa before he ultimately escapes. And this book is just full of all kinds of things like science and nature. It's funny. It's got invention. It's got exceptional language, and it won the Newbery Award in
Oh,
1948. It's a
wow.
small book, but it's another great read aloud. We read this aloud to our kids years ago. So it's a good book. Highly
That's
recommend
so
it.
good. So good.
The next book is called The Vanderbeekers of 141st Street. I don't know why that is so hard for me to say, but it is.
A lot of
By
F's.
Karina, I know, it's by Karina Jan Glazer is her name. And this is actually the first book, let me see, in a series of 7 books.
Okay.
This is a series that if kids like the first one, they would enjoy the others. I've read the first 3. I have not read all 7 yet.
Okay.
But it's a best-selling series that the New York Times Book Review hails as delightful and heartwarming.
Okay.
And basically, it's a story of a family called the Vanderbeekers. They've always lived in a brownstone apartment on 141st Street in New York City. And all of a sudden, their reclusive and kind of a curmudgeon landlord decides not to renew their lease.
Oh,
And so this is a mother and father with and 5 children that live in this brownstone building. And so the children come together, the siblings. They have 11 days to do whatever it takes to stay in their beloved home and convince their horrible landlord, Mr. Biederman, just how wonderful they all are. And so it is really a delightful story. The siblings work together, and their relationships with one another is just delightful, and all's fair in love and war when it comes to keeping their home. That's kind of their
yeah.
motto. So
That's
it's a
cool.
great it,
That's
and
really
the
cool.
yeah, so I recommend that. Moving on to middle school literature, the first book I have here is a book called Smith by Leon Garfield. Leon Garfield is a gifted storyteller, kind of in the same vein as like a Charles Dickens,
Mm,
and it's kind of haunting scenes of like 18th century London. And in this story, um, you're introduced to a young figure who is kind of like the Artful Dodger, I guess, in Oliver.
okay. Yeah.
He is a 12-year-old pickpocket, and his name is Smith. And after stealing a document from an old gentleman, he happens to witness a murder. So this is kind of like
Middle school
he's
for sure.
He's illiterate, but he's filled with pity for the murdered man, and he determines to get to the bottom of this mystery and is relentlessly dragged deeper and deeper into this web of intrigue. And
Wow.
so he journeys into London's criminal underworld. It forces him to make some decisions between his own greed and justice, and also between good and evil. And it's packed with adventure, peopled with quite a cast of characters, and it's like a great mystery novel. And so I would say definitely middle school, but it's an adventure novel. So like I think boys would especially like this book.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why I kind of put it in there. It's kind of more of a boys book, but I remember we read this to our kids and I enjoyed it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
the next one is more for girls, actually. Long Legs by Jean Webster. And this is another classic. It was released in 1912, and it's a novel of American girlhood. And it follows an orphan named Judy Abbott, who's given like a benefactor comes along and basically pays for her to go to school. And but the kicker for her is in order to receive this free tuition to be going to this private school, she has to write this person, her benefactor, letters every I think it's like once a month or something like that. And this way he can follow um, yeah, she has to write every month, and she's never allowed to know who her benefactor is. So it's basically the story of her growing up, going to this school, and all the letters that she wrote to her benefactor over many years. And eventually she goes to college and has friends, and she keeps wondering, who's this mysterious benefactor who has really blessed my life?
Yeah.
And it's a sweet story, has great ending. So I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
I
give it away,
love
but
that. Oh, now I
it's a
wanna read
really
it.
it's really good, Dale, you would enjoy it, you
I
really would.
probably would, yeah.
And then the last one for middle school I've got here is a book called The K by Theodore Taylor. You
Yes.
probably heard of this. This is another book I
It's a
think is like
good one.
really good one. Yeah. So it's about a boy named Philip who's evacuated from a Dutch island off the coast of Venezuela
Yeah.
because Nazis actually torpedoed the boat. So it takes place during World War II. And the boy is marooned on an island with an old black man and a cat. And it's an exciting story. So when Philip comes to, he's on a little raft in the middle of the sea, and besides the cat, his only companion is this old West Indian named Timothy. And when they arrive on a little island, his head injury, Philip has incurred a head injury, and
Mhm.
it's made him blind and very dependent on Timothy. And it's the story of their relationship,
Yeah, it's a
and
good one.
it's really, really good.
Yeah, I
So
would highly recommend that all middle schoolers read that one.
I agree.
It's
It's
really incredible. There's so much richness to the story and so many good lessons in there, and it'd be a great introduction to book reports, like a really good, to do a good book like if you're a homeschool mom and you've gotta have them write a paper on something when they're in middle school, is a great introduction to how to
it's
really
a
do that.
It's a really wonderful book, so
Mhm.
I agree. I highly
So good.
recommend that. It's kinda like a must read, you know?
It's almost like you can't graduate without reading that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, moving on to high school. The first one I have is I Captured the Castle by Dodie Smith. This is another book, was written in 1940, and it's about a 17-year-old girl named Cassandra, and it tells the story of her. She has a very, I will describe it, eclectic, unique, zany family, and they live in they live in this crumbling old English castle, and they're kind of impoverished, I would say. And yet she has a humorous journal that she keeps with all her hopes and dreams, as well as all her family troubles. And they're all kind of awaiting her father to get out of this writer's block. He's a writer, but
Uh-huh.
he's experiencing writer's block, and it just keeps extending and and they're waiting for him to produce something to help with the family finances. And so hope comes alive when they encounter the estate's young, handsome landlord, and then love blossoms. So, anyway, a cute little aside is Dodie Smith, the author of this book, is also the author of the story 101 Dalmatians.
Oh, I wondered where I'd heard her name.
Yeah, isn't that
Okay.
interesting?
Yes, yes.
But it's a fun little story. It really is.
Wow.
Girls might like it more, just
Yeah,
because
it sounds more like a girly one, but still
just to
good.
like never know.
Yeah.
The next book is called The Daughter of Time, and it's by an author named Josephine Tay. And it's about a Scotland Yard inspector who has broken his leg. He's lying in hospital and he's very bored. And so, to pass the time, he starts to study portraits of famous people using his detective's eye and to discern something about their personalities. And King Richard III's portrait kind of intrigues him because all the history books claim that he was one of the worst villains that killed his young nephews to secure the
Yeah.
world.
The boys
And
in the
yet,
tower.
yes, exactly. And
Yep.
yet his face is kindly and sensitive. And so, could the truth of this 1485 murder be known? Inspector Grant is determined to find out. And I'll just say, some people consider this book to be one of the best mysteries ever written. It's a
Wow.
contemplation on history, propaganda, prejudice, and memory. So
Wow.
it is a really good book.
That sounds amazing. Yeah.
And the author has written other like mystery books. So
Wow.
just to that out there. So, and the last one I have here for high school is one of my all-time favorites. It's A Tale of Two Cities by
Oh,
Charles Dickens.
yes. Oh,
It
so good.
is a
Yeah, it's
great
one of
his
mine too.
yeah, and it's set during the violent upheaval of the French
French Revolution.
Revolution. Um, and it tells a story of a family that is threatened by terrible, terrible events of the
Yeah.
past, how the past comes to haunt them as a
Mhm.
family. And basically, there's older man who's been imprisoned in the Bastille for like 18 years, and he's finally reunited with his daughter. And she has fallen in love with somebody who abandoned wealth and title in France because of what was going on.
Mhm.
And when the revolution breaks out, he ends up traveling back to Paris to help an old family servant who's been arrested because of past crimes committed by his relations, his relatives.
Mm.
And then his wife, or I don't think it was even his wife, Lucy, maybe it was his wife, went back across to follow her husband and puts everybody's lives in danger. And it just underscores so many themes that
Yeah.
are very important, like justice,
Yeah.
social anarchy, resurrection, redemption. It's just, I always tell people, if you're only going to read one book by Charles Dickens, I would choose,
Exactly.
really would.
Yeah.
So
That's I think one of his best of I mean,
I agree.
anything by Charles Dickens though. I mean, I always joke that he's going to be my next door neighbor in heaven. Because I just wanted to live next door to him and Jane Austen. I just have
Oh,
to.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
but I always that to me is my favorite Charles Dickens story. Tale of Two
it is.
Cities.
It's great.
It's so well. He's just such an incredibly deep writer, and he
He is.
develops characters just are so incredible at characterization. And
He is.
another one, I
He
don't know
really
how you graduate high school without reading that.
I agree. It's a great book.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, you could also maybe read A Christmas Carol since it's
Oh,
almost Christmas.
well, yeah, that's a good one too, but we all know that story, so why don't we try branch out, branch out.
Yeah. No. So that's pretty much my list.
That's a
So
great list, Susan. Thank you so much. Well, reading is so, so fundamental and so important. I just want to ask you, how did you develop a love of reading in your children? Or did you struggle because they weren't big readers? Or, I know that's something that I hear a lot from parents is like, how do I develop a love of reading in my kids?
I think the way I did it initially was I read aloud to them a
A
lot. I
lot.
read aloud and my husband Rob read aloud. We did I'd read a book. Sometimes the kids would say after we finished, "That is so good. We need dad to now read it aloud so he can enjoy it too." So they'd listen to it all over again with him
Yeah.
reading it out loud.
Yeah.
So that kind of sparked, I think, for all of them that desire to read. Plus, I'm a big reader, so is Rob, and
Yeah.
yeah, we just made it a big part of our family life. And to be honest with you, each one of our kids today are big readers. They love to
Okay.
read. I would say our daughter's the youngest, and she's probably the most voracious reader of all
Okay.
of them.
And we always
But
say
yeah,
I always was told when I was growing up, and I say it to my kids, and it drove them crazy growing up, and I'm always like, "Readers are leaders." They are, because people who can read can see things from like an argument, they can see it from all perspectives because they're used to
yeah,
seeing things and looking at when you're reading literature, you're seeing things from all the different characters' points of view. And
hmm,
you start to look for that in your life because that's just kind of how your life that's how you do things. And they're good with they've got good people skills. There's all kinds of good things that come out of reading, but um
I
y-
think
just
good readers become good writers. Honestly,
yes,
you don't need a formal writing program as much as you need to read a lot
good
of
books.
good quality, well-written books, which is
Yes.
generally gonna be the older time-tested books, not
Yes.
new ones.
Not
Because
twaddle.
no, and a
No.
lot of the books are written at a
Yeah.
very low reading level. I would say like a 3rd or 4th grade reading level, which
Yeah.
is not what we're aspiring to. We're
Mm-mm.
aspiring beyond that. So
Exactly. Exactly. And in this day and age when nationwide, um, well, there was just in Minnesota, I'm just going to speak about Minnesota because I can't speak to all the other states. But in Minnesota, when they tested third graders and eighth graders and their reading levels, they were only 40% able to read at grade level, 40% of kids. That means over
That's
like 60% of children
not grade level.
are not even reading at grade level. And that's just something's wrong there. And maybe they
Mhm,
can read the words, but they don't comprehend it. And so
mhm.
it's like, there's a whole lot more to reading than just being able to read the words. You need to know what's being said and to be able to
Yeah.
repeat back what it is you just read. And
Well, and
so,
that's the key too, I think, is you even when you do a read aloud to kids,
yeah,
you can often just ask them, "Tell me back what" narrate in your own words the
narrate.
story.
Yep.
Just narrate back.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be a long and there's no right or wrong, you don't correct
No,
them, you just let them say what they heard and leave it at that, and that helps develop their oral skills as well, and their
exactly.
and connects those dots in
Yep.
their brain, which
And
is
we
helpful.
always did copy work out of actual literature. We did learning language arts through literature just
Yeah,
for clarification and how we did our language arts program from kindergarten to 8th grade. And a lot of people were critical of it because they're like it's just not rigorous. It's just not rigorous. But it's deceptively gentle. In other words, no, it's not like in your face constant like we have to do this, have to, it's
yeah,
very um it's kid friendly. It was just very it's Charlotte Mason. It's how Charlotte
yeah,
Mason teaches. And so it's very much, narration, copy work, dictation. That's how you
yeah,
learn your grammar. That's how you learn your spelling. That's how you learn your writing skills. That's how you learn, all the different rules that you need for all the different things. And it's just a phenomenal way to learn. And it's using real books, actual
yeah,
stories like Katie Woodlawn and all these great stories from the time they're in kindergarten through the time they're in 8th grade to just really bring home those skills that you're learning, and as you're doing it, you start to realize, "Man, my kids are becoming really good writers, and they really do understand they comprehend more than I thought that they would." And, and they're starting to use words I didn't think that they would know because their vocabulary is upped because they're reading classic literature and not just, Babysitter's Club or whatever happens to be out there, Goosebumps or whatever. Which, I mean,
yeah.
whatever, if they wanna read, that's one thing, but it's like to have that be their only diet. It's like, it's like letting them live on candy and not giving them
Right,
meat and vegetables and
and reading books that maybe stretch you wanna stretch them, and
yes.
that's what it helps to read some of the older literature because it will stretch them. It makes
Right.
your brain work a little harder. I mean,
Mhm.
for myself, I was not homeschooled, but I find that when
Mm-mm.
I read those classic books, it's like I have to my brain has to be kicking in gear because whereas when I read a modern book, I can just sit there. It is kinda like you you don't really have to think too hard, and you can just
Yeah.
breeze through the book.
Yeah,
But
very
yeah.
few modern authors get me like classic authors do. However, there are a few. There are like if
Yeah,
you have not read anything by Angela Elwell Hunt or Angela Hunt or Angie Hunt, I think she goes by now too. Anyway, she writes very good historical fiction, and I would
wow.
recommend her. She's incredible, incredible writer,
I
and
always look forward to hearing about more modern writers.
yeah, she's got a series called The Keepers of the Ring. I think it's 8 or 9 books, and it starts with Roanoke, the lost colony of Roanoke, and it just goes
Mm.
from there. It's phenomenal, and it's just so, so good, and it ties up all of American history, and it's just incredible, but
Wow,
anyway,
that'd be
okay,
great.
so thank you so much for coming. I don't wanna waste any more of your time. I just really wanted to ask you about the reading thing because that's something that a lot of parents wonder, like, "Is my child ever gonna enjoy this?" And I think part of what they don't
Yeah.
enjoy is that it's something they have to do rather than something they get to do maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. You have to kinda make it fun
You
and
do.
that's the trick sometimes. And I think when they're first learning to read, reading is hard when
It
you're first
is.
learning to read because it's work. And
Yeah.
so finding books with stories that will interest them
Yeah.
is always a bit of a challenge. If you have boys, you kind of want, adventures or
Yep.
mysteries, although girls like mysteries too.
They
And
do.
like adventures too. But you want a book that has some plot,
Yeah.
I think to get them started and
Good characterization.
yeah, and good characters.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I would recommend that. The other thing I was just gonna mention, I heard something, that maybe everybody else knows about, but I didn't know about.
Yeah.
I wish I had done this with our kids over Advent, is people have recommended, picking, like, your top favorite, 25 books, Christmas books. It can be picture books,
Mhm.
and then you one a day. You tell your kids each day, we pick number 1 on the first day, number 2,
Yeah.
and we read that book. So it's just kind of building up to Christmas, and then the last week, you kinda have more of the, nativity stories or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So have you done that?
I have not, but Paper Pie, which used to be Usborne Books,
Yep.
has an advent calendar where each door, when you open it, there's a mini book in there. So there's like Pinocchio and Goldilocks and Peter Pan and all these great, and then there's some Christmas stories mixed in there too. But the Jungle Book, I mean, really good stories in there.
Okay.
They're just little mini books. I mean, they're maybe 12 to 15 pages, but it's a
Yep.
story of one, and it's just such a great. So one year we got those for our grandkids for
Uh,
Thanksgiving, and well, not all of our grandkids, for each family is what we did.
yep.
And then they were able to every night of Christmas before Christmas open it up, and their bedtime story was whatever it was in the calendar that day. And
Oh, see,
yeah,
that's kind of along those same lines where you just
yeah,
kinda go through your book and you can, just pick any books. They don't have to be Christmas books, but they could just
yeah,
be books special to your family or books that you just
just
wanna read to your kids, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yep. Or
So
just pick, like, even if you don't want to buy 25 books, or if you don't want to get 25 books, even if you just get one book that you read a chapter a night, and you just, during Advent, we're just going to sit down, we're going to have cookies and hot chocolate, and we're going to get all snuggly, and we are just going to read one chapter out of this book right up until Christmas.
yeah.
A fun book for that would be like we have talked about, like Cheaper by the Dozen, or
Oh,
something
yeah.
that's just fun, family oriented, that everybody would love.
Yeah,
Um,
just take a book and break it out into, like,
yep.
24 readings or 25 whatever,
Yeah, 24 nights, and you can just read
Yeah.
it over that period of time, and, just something fun that you get to do, that's something just different from your average, evening. So,
It kinda sets, like, a little tradition that
it
you can read,
does.
which is very sweet, and
Yeah, it does,
those
and
are
it
remember too.
exactly, and one thing that I always love is, like, I talk about Iceland a lot, and Iceland, their big Christmas is Christmas Eve, and everybody on Christmas Eve gets a book, and
Look, I know, I
they open a
love that.
book, and they spend the whole evening just reading, and, I just thought, "Man, that's just such a great thing," so that's why we incorporated, Christmas pajamas in a book on Christmas Eve for our
I
grandbabies.
love that 'cause, the pajamas is also great because then you have your pajamas to wear on
Yeah.
Christmas
That's
morning.
right, and they all look so cute, and they're only be able to do that for a few more years because 'cause they're getting older, and they're like, "Well, I don't know if I wanna match with all my cousins. I'm sorry, but that's a little odd. We're gonna
I
keep it
think it
going as long as we can."
yeah, I think it's a sweet tradition, I love
It's a good
it.
one. Well, thank you so much, Susan. We really appreciate it when you come on. It's just so much fun to talk about books with you, and thank you for so much for sharing your knowledge with us.
Oh, well, Dale, thank you for having me, I really appreciate it, and I enjoy talking about
Yeah.
books, you know
Well, the
that.
next one is gonna be in, like, midwinter, so we can talk about spring and all the things, and then we do our
Oh,
summer beach reads. Those are fun. So,
great.
anyways, you guys enjoy your time.
Yeah, happy
You
Thanksgiving.
too. Happy Thanksgiving. And to our
So,
listeners, happy Thanksgiving to you all. Everything that we talked about, including, I think, that publishing house, is it
it's Purple House Press.
Purple House Press? I'm gonna put the link to that in the description of this podcast so you can check it out.
Okay,
And if,
great.
another one that you guys could check out is, remember, we just recently did, if you missed it, that's okay, because you can go back and listen to it. We just had on Dr. Mark Hamby from Lamplighters. And so you might want to check that one out because that is phenomenal. And they've got some great stories for the holidays. And that is investment books, like something that you want to buy, that's heritage that your kids will keep for the rest of their lives. And if you want to start them building a really amazing library, every Christmas Eve giving them a lamplighter book, you just aren't going to get
They're
any
high
better than that.
quality book. Yeah, very nice quality
They
books.
are. They're wonderful. And for those who are like, but my child doesn't read, they now have them. They all now have them dramatized on audio, so you can get
Yes, they
those
do, and
too.
they're really well done.
Yeah.
Real great car rides together,
Yeah. Yeah,
so
car trips, so this summer we'll talk about those. Anyway,
great.
thank you guys so much for listening, thank you for coming, we appreciate you. Maché is here for you if you need anything. You can always find our contact information in the description of this podcast. So, yeah, have a wonderful Thanksgiving for those of you who are listening, and Susan, again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dale.